Hey guys, Economics Wizard here. In this video, I'm going to explain why the economy does better under Democrats than Republicans. Donald Trump is absolutely right when he says that. He says that the economy does better under Democrats than Republicans, and he is not lying.
I've been now around long. I think of myself as a young guy, but I'm not so young anymore. And I've been around for a long time. And it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. Now, it shouldn't be that way. But if you go back, it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats.
Well, it certainly did well under Clinton. Well, but I wouldn't suggest it was so great under Jimmy Carter.
That's true.
If you remember the interest rates.
No, I know. It's Jimmy Carter was not in the same thing, but certainly we had some very good economies under Democrats as well as Republicans. But we've had some pretty bad disaster under the Republicans.
And let me show you what Donald Trump means by this. So will Donald Trump preside over the next recession? And the last 7 recessions have happened under Republican presidents. And I have already predicted the next recession to happen in 2019, as I've said. Anyways, it says right here, every Republican president since Teddy Roosevelt in the early 1900s endured a recession in their first term, according to an analysis from Sam Stovall, chief investment strategist at stock research firm CFRA. 4 Republican presidents suffered through 2 recessions while in office, and Republican President Dwight Eisenhower presided over 3. Meanwhile, the Democrats have largely skated past the recession quicksand. 4 and 5 Democratic presidents saw no recessions during their term since 1945. That one president was Jimmy Carter during the oil crisis of the 1700s and massive inflation that has been happening partly because of the Federal Reserve. Real GDP growth averaged 3.33% during the 64 years and 16 presidential terms going back to President Truman in the mid-1940s, according to a 2013 research paper by professors of economics Alan Blinder and Mark Watson at Princeton University. With the Republican in the White House, though, the economy's growth slowed to 2.54%, the economists found. With a Democrat in office, growth jumped to 4.35% on average. A variety of other economic indicators such as per capita GDP, stock market returns, real wages, the number one category for the middle class, and the change in the unemployment rate are also more robust. With a Democratic president, the economists found, unemployment fell by 0.8 percentage points with the Democratic president on average, while it rose 1.1% with the Republican. U.S. economy has performed better when the president of the United States is a Democrat rather than a Republican, almost regardless of how one measures performance, according to the report titled Presidents in the Economy of Forensic Investigations. Random good luck, they said, that regardless of the president's policies, the business cycle still remains constant. Lag times for policies entering other presidents, they said. The business cycle, like I've said. But notice here that they're saying that it's an illusion created by the timing of when presidents enter office, says Timothy Kane at the Hoover Institution think tank at Stanford University. Now, this Hoover Institution think tank is a right-leaning think tank, so that there's a little bit of bias there that wants to ignore, obviously, an ongoing correlation. I'll explain why that is true, that the Democrats are better at economics than Republicans. They know what's best for America. Want a better economy? History says vote Democrat. This is a good book to go get that I want to purchase. Bulls, Bears, and the Ballot Box. A heavily researched book bringing some serious inconsistency between the common viewpoint of America's dominant parties and the reality of how America has performed since the start of the Great Depression. This is a neutral point of view that you can get from Bob Dietrich and Luke Godfarb's book, Bulls, Bears, and the Ballot Box. Haven't read that yet, but I'd like to go get that book. But I'm pointing out the facts that economies do better with a Democratic president. The authors looked at a range of economic metrics, including inflation, employment, corporate profit growth, stock market performance, household income growth, GDP growth, months in recession, and others. To their surprise, they discovered that laissez-faire policies had far less benefits than expected, and in fact produced almost universal negative economic outcomes for the nation. And here was what they found. Personal disposable income has grown nearly 6 times more under Democratic presidents. This is because they want the vast majority of the tax benefits to the middle class versus the wealthy. The Democrats don't believe in trickle-down economics. 70% of our economy is based on consumer spending. GDP has grown 7 times more under Democratic presidents, based on the greatest supply for a business being customers, people that spend money, the poor and the middle classes. People will invest as long as aggregate demand in the economy goes up. You give more money to the spenders, the poor middle classes that need it, well, companies are going to go invest and they're going to generate more sales. Corporate profits have grown over 16% more per year under Democratic presidents, and corporate profits have declined under Republican presidents by an average of 4.53% a year. Average annual compound return on the stock market has been 18 times greater under Democratic presidents. Republican presidents, believing in tax breaks for the wealthy and no adjustments to spending, no cuts in spending, have contributed far more to the debt. And their policies have contributed to less income, less money for the government, because their policies don't create jobs, and job creation results in more tax receipts because there is no increase in aggregate demand. Republican presidents added 2.5 times more to the national debt than Democratic presidents. I've explained to you why. The 2 times the economy stared into the ditch, Great Depression and Great Recession, were during Republican laissez-faire administrations. Don't forget, too, that the Federal Reserve plays a role in the economy. I explained that in my videos about the Federal Reserve. Let's take a look at Ronald Reagan. But in reality, the 1981 tax cuts under Reagan backfired, leading to massive deficits in a weaker economy. 1982, Ronald Reagan signed TEFRA, Tax Equity Fiscal Responsibility Act, the largest peacetime tax increase in our nation's history. This is what the right does not want you to know about Ronald Reagan. In his tenure, Reagan signed 9 tax bills, 7 of which raised taxes. So his policies didn't generate more government revenue. His tax breaks for the wealthy didn't pay for itself. Ronald Reagan was the first to institute a social security tax in our country's history as well. GDP growth. It is much higher when the middle class has money to spend. The 50s, the 60s, the greatest times in our country's history. Then the 1980s hit, NAFTA, in 1990s, we see this annual rate decrease and all the way down to 2 to 3%, 1.5% growth. The more money we give to the rich, then the less the economy grows. Since the middle class collapses, the tax slashes for the wealthy under Reagan, and then the institution of NAFTA, the shipping of good-paying jobs overseas for low-paying service jobs. tax breaks for the wealthy, the tax rate for capital gains does not impact investment. The rich will make money regardless. It all boils down to consumer demand that impacts their decision to invest. This was an op-ed by Warren Buffett. Stop calling the super rich with all these tax breaks, for capital gains. Raise capital gains. As long as people have money, I'm going to invest. We never talked about the tax rate. I didn't refuse, nor did others. I've worked with investors for 60 years, and I've yet to see anyone, not even when capital gains rates were 39.9% and 76-77, shy away from a sensible investment because of the tax rate on the potential gain. People invest to make money, and potential taxes have never scared them off. And to those who argue that higher rates hurt job creation, I would note that a net of nearly 40 million jobs were added between 1980 and 2000. You know what's happened since then? Lower tax rates and far lower job creation. Warren Buffett's pretty much saying that as long as the middle class has money to spend, that the share of the benefits go to the middle class, they're going to spend more money, which is going to generate more sales, which opens the window for more investment opportunities. The rich don't stimulate the economy, as Warren Buffett says. The tax rate of capital gains has nothing to do whether he invests or not. It is demand which impacts his ability to make money off of investment. More money for the lower middle class means that employers can't keep up with the current demand. There's additional demand. Then they're going to hire more people. That is when Warren Buffett is going to invest. And take it from a small business owner. Tax cuts don't create jobs. This is not part of my analysis. I've always had a problem with the term job creator. It makes it sound like business people wake up in the morning and say, I think I will go and create jobs today. Job creation doesn't work this way. In a vacuum, business owners like me create more jobs when we need more employees to meet the demand for goods and services our businesses provide. And we deduct employee costs from our taxable income. So demand is the key to job creation, not tax cuts. She correctly says, but job creator is an effective smokescreen for the effort to justify more tax cuts for the wealthy. It never was about creating jobs for these tax breaks. It was about lining up the pockets of the top tenth of 1%. And Bill Gates is correct. Let's start with the first bill. The highest economic growth decade was the 60s. Income tax rates, marginal rates were the top 90%. He's exactly correct. That is when we had good paying jobs in America for everyone. That is when aggregate demand was at its highest point in American history. We've had the greatest distribution of income for the middle class in our nation's history, and that is when we grew the fastest. He is exactly correct. You take a look at average GDP growth and the tax rate. The more we slash the rate down, the less money in the middle class with these tax breaks, inflation, the loss of good paying jobs. Our GDP growth has been deteriorating. This would have been in the twos, by the way, a 3.56 if it weren't for the internet boom. The internet boom was a key role in the 90s. We see the gap between the rich and the poor widen and widen even more, and we are growing slower now than ever. Bill Clinton is correct that demand-side economics creates more jobs than the Republicans. Since 1961, our private economy has produced 66 million private sector jobs. So what's the job score? Republicans, 24 million. Democrats, 42 million. He is exactly right. It boils down to simple economic beliefs. One side base their beliefs or their inferences and conclusions based on empirical evidence. The other side believes in the failed supply-side ideology that really is a pipe dream and is not based on empirical evidence. Here are the figures right here for each respectful president. And these figures do not include government jobs. So good job, Bill Clinton, for stating the facts on this. Even the International Monetary Fund has concluded in a study that reducing income inequality boosts economic growth. The IMF found demand-side economics boosts growth. Supply-side economics just allows the wealthy to hoard money. This is the facts. The stock market doing better under the Democrats? This is exactly correct. Based on Democratic policies, the Republicans have had a lower total return than Democratic presidents. Annualized return, 1.71%, 10.83%. Democrats grew faster. Barack Obama, the Dow has almost tripled under President Obama. And the total historical return, 6.7 under Republican president, 9.7% under a Democratic president. In this video, we'll sum it up thanks to the Economist. And here are the facts based on who grows faster, the Democrats or the Republicans. A difference of 1.8%, close to 4.5%, close to 2.5%. Democrats do better, just like Donald Trump said. It's quite simple that I've explained to you demand-side economics in a nutshell, and I showed you empirical evidence of one small business owner telling you guys when she creates jobs. Again, the Democrats' beliefs about the economy matches empirical evidence compared to what the Republicans believe in. Two and a half percent ever since World War II, 4.5% under a Democratic president. And this is pretty much who's better in a nutshell, based on a variety of factors, as one of the articles on Forbes demonstrated to you. The economy does better under the Democrats. Under the Republicans, trickle-down economics has never worked. This is why the majority of economists don't believe in tax breaks for the wealthy. Social services help contribute to the economy, help increase social mobility in America. Democratic policies are the best for job creation if that is what you truly want. And go look at my video on Bush's repatriation of overseas profits. Today, politics in America has never been more on the side of the right wing than the left. Bill Clinton started this centrist movement of corporate Democrats that cater to corporate wishes. Bill Clinton was a part of NAFTA, and Bill Clinton did support repatriation and keeping the tax rate low so we're competitive. In other words, global economies without any regulation concentrate more wealth to the top 1%. The wealthiest people are the ones that wield and have and display the most power around the world. So Democrats are better for the economy than the Republicans. This is your proof. Brought to you by the Economics Wizard. Demand creates jobs, not tax breaks for the wealthy. Tax cuts for the middle class help spur investment. The only relationship between tax breaks for the wealthy is profit and more money in their pockets. Corporate profits have been up under Democrats. It is because demand-side economics helps with company sales, and that generates more business because people do not invest unless there is additional demand that's not being currently met. So that is real economics, not fake economics brought to you by the top 1% in the far right.